Appreciate the heartfelt post. For me, I would never have known about rallies, protests happening in my area, or the groups setting them up without social media. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate this comment. It was not my intent to try and set up a false binary between real life and social media. Because yeah, social media spaces absolutely can be community, especially for disabled folks, especially for people who are really geographically isolated or geographically isolated in terms of being blue dots in red states. I don't want to diminish the value of online community at all. It's been very important for me, and I'm sure it's been important for so many Americans, especially since 2020. However clumsily I was wording it in that video, my intent was not to create a binary. I was trying more to talk about balance, right? To think, for me personally, to think more critically about how many of my life hours I am giving to online discourse. In particular, engaging with trolls, having conversations that I know are not going to be productive, and also especially doom scrolling. And also really for me, especially on my YouTube in the comments section, engaging with Trumpers that I know, I know they have no interest in having a good faith conversation. My experience online on TikTok is very, very different than on YouTube. TikTok really curates the algorithm, so you see people who are very, very similar to you. And the majority of the time, you get a very narrow perspective. It becomes very insular. It's this bubble. And I think in that way, it can be more sheltered and more shielded in ways that YouTube comment sections are just not. And there's both good and bad about that, right? Because then you get an artificial sense of what everybody is feeling because the people in your FYP have your shared opinions. You can get a really limited perspective that way, or that think that maybe your opinion is a majority one when it's really not. I think a lot of us learned that. Coming out of the election, we learned that what we thought was a widely held opinion. We didn't see the Trumper side of social media. That was an ecosystem, a universe, a community that we did not interface with in the same way. And so we really underestimated their power and their influence and their scale. That can also be good for creating safer spaces online where you have like-minded people and you are buffered, you are protected from those folks. YouTube does not protect you from those folks at all. Right, I think a lot of my YouTube content gets driven over to MAGAs, maybe because I still have permaculture in the name of my channel, and there's a lot of libertarians who think that they like permaculture even though they don't want to follow any of the ethics of it. So I waste way too much time on social media engaging with those folks in my comments. Again, on TikTok, it can be the doom scrolling. It can be the misunderstanding other people's tone and intent in the comments and them doing the same to you. And then you end up in this spiral where people think you said one thing and you think somebody had some kind of intent that they just don't have, because conversations like that over text are difficult. It'll be much better just like have a phone call or chat with somebody in real life. So yes, I completely agree. Online spaces can be real community. We can care for each other here. They are important, especially when it comes to disseminating information. Somebody who makes my living on social media, I don't want to diminish the impact, the importance of having these spaces. I don't think that social media is all bad or all good. I think just like everything in our society, it's a real mixed bag. There are places where real community happens, and then there's a lot of places where bullying happens. There's a lot of places where very insincere interactions happen. There's trolling, there's harassment, there's bad faith engagement, there's clout chasers, there's rage baiters, right? Like I've just everything. It's really, really antithetical to community can happen in a space where you are also simultaneously having good community, having good conversations. I feel like TikTok is far less of a place where we can have good conversations than it was a year ago. Like it's much more difficult to have conversations here than it was. For a whole host of reasons, a lot have to do with the platform itself. So yes, I'm definitely not diminishing the ways that online spaces are really important community, especially for disabled folks, especially for folks who are geographically isolated. I'm just trying to think about, for myself, having more balance. I only have so many hours in a day. I only get so many hours in this life. Being intentional with the use of my energy. Am I being careful about who I'm giving my time to? Is it productive? Am I wading in somewhere? It would just be better if I just don't. And instead, could I use that time and that energy to help somebody in my real life? Offline life. Does that sound better? For lack of a good term. Yeah. Face-to-face interactions, right? Could I be reserving, curating more of that time to devote to real life engagement, real life community care, mutual aid right where I live, instead of like doom scrolling videos of people that I'll never meet, that I'm not in community with, having interactions with people that also not in community with. There isn't the same social contract. There isn't the same expectation. How do I balance the fact that just like the platform is not all good and all bad, it's not all community or all devoid of community. How do I create balance in that? So that was more my point. And I think just, because of personal things for me, I'm just trying to think about how I use my time, realizing that it is a finite resource. Yes, thank you, Kopi, and to the other folks who were like, hey, online spaces are important to me. This is where I get information. I find out about IRL events that are happening. And also, as somebody who may not find in-person interactions to be as accessible, having those online spaces is super important. Somebody else in my comments said that they are disabled and cannot go to like real life protests or other kinds of community organizing events, but that they host virtual ones on social media, and that those are absolutely just as important. I completely concur. 100 million%. So thanks to the folks who wanted to add context, and thanks for letting me clarify.